Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Um, I'm going to be doing a video now, or probably a set of videos, on creating a new product. So it's new to me. It's something that I've just drawn up. Yeah, you can see that pretty well. Um, this is going to be a card wallet, like a front pocket type of deal that's just going to hold some cards or maybe some cash. So the large rectangle you see here, um, that is going to be the main body. And what we'll have is, you see the dotted lines, that just says fold lines. Those are, when I was designing this, about where the fold line is going to be. This here is going to be a pocket. I'm going to have one like this on this side, and then if you flip it over, there's going to be another one where the half circle goes here. So those are going to be the two pockets. Now what you'll see is the triangle. I'm going to cut that out, and that's going to go in the center. And as we go through this, you'll see what I'm going to do with it. I'm actually using as a guide. I'm going to punch a hole out. What I'm going to end up using for the main body is a 4 to 5 ounce piece of leather. This piece of leather I've had for a little while. As you can see, there's some damage to the back. I say damage, but it was I didn't have any cutting board at the time when I was doing something, and so I just used the back of this so that I didn't damage my tools. But I'm going to use that because I'm going to use more of the red suede that I have. That will be butted up to the back of it, and then that diamond shape that we cut out, you're going to see that, come through on the outside of the wallet. So I think it's going to be a cool design. I have different colors of suede I can get, blues and greens and that. So I think it's going to be a pretty cool design. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause the video. You don't need to see me cutting out the actual design, and then I'll come back when we're putting it on the leather and we're cutting it out. All right, now let me zoom this out a little bit. Zoom it in. Okay, so what I have here is my 3 sheets of paper. Now this is what I'm using is just copy paper. Everybody's got it. It's good for like a one-time use, but if this is a design that I actually like, then I'm going to probably put this at least on a thicker, like a just a thicker cardboard type of paper. Weaver Leathercraft, and they have like plastic sheeting that Chuck Dorsett, one of the guys that does videos on their channel, or the guy, he recommends for long-term use, but I'm kind of going by what he recommends. You just use copy paper. If you've got a good design down, then you can transfer it over to something a little more solid, and it just helps, first, for longevity, but second, when you're trying to actually cut this stuff out. So this is a newer blade. You want to use a new blade with just about every project. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut around here. This isn't going to be the final cut, obviously. And with a brand new blade, typically everything goes right through the first time for a 4 to 5 ounce. So I'm going to set this aside. I don't need this. Now, I have an X-Acto knife, scalpel, called many things. This is also a Scratch Awl, AWL. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Scratch Awl to go around here. You can use an ink pen, but ink pens tend to you know, if you don't work your edges right, which I can, and you can use them too. You don't need this. I just don't like to put ink on my leather if I don't have to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around here, and I'm going to go kind of slowly because, again, this is just regular copy paper. So I can easily slip on here. For the bifold wallets I've actually bought an acrylic template. And what I do is I am basically able to skip this step, and I can run my scalpel right down the leather, right next to the acrylic set. So that's nice too, but that's not free, obviously. You got to pay for it. I got it from Maker Leather Supply. Aaron Heiser is a great guy. I think it's makersleathersupply.com. If you just Google Makers Leather, it should come up. He's got all kinds of great things, tools and that as well. Some of it pricey, some of it, you know, I mean, you're talking high quality, high end tools though too. So I'm not quite there yet. This scratch all I have is from Tandy, and I'm not trying to promote one thing or another. I'm just letting anybody know, if you want to get into the craft, you've got options. And, you know, by all means, don't think you have to spend a ton of money right away, although over the course of time you really can. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to grab now this has cork on the back of it, this ruler, straight edge. So I highly recommend them because once I set this down, it's not going to slip. I just need to apply a little bit of pressure and I'm good. So I'm lining it up with the first line. I probably do need to change the blade on this. You'll go through blades, you'll find, quite often. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to stop here, pause the video, because all I'm doing is cutting these straight lines, and you don't need to watch that. I don't want to bore you in these videos. So I'll be back when this is done. All right, so now we've got our pieces cut. And, you know, make sure when you cut the one piece, flip it over to cut the other so that you have the flesh sides on the right side. Leather is, this type of leather at least, the veg tan is two-sided. So I'm going to match this stuff up real quick. This is about how it's going to go, and looking at it right now, I'm going to tell you that maybe not on this one, but I'm going to actually fold this stuff up, and I want to round these corners. Just round them off just a little bit instead of having these sharp 90s. But if you imagine the red suede on the inside here covering up the nastiness you see there, that's how it's going to look, and then it's going to fold over. So what we're going to do now is we still have to put our diamond shape in here. So I have a T-square. I'm going to measure this real quick. Normally in a final design I'll have my measurements on there as well. But this is 4 inches wide by, we'll say 5.5 inches long. It's just shy. 7/16 really. But we're going to tool some design in here. I think I want to go with basket weave. And when you tool in a design, bigger designs, bigger pieces of leather, your leather will expand. This isn't going to expand too much, if at all. But just for ease of measurement, we're going to call this 5.5. So 4 inches by 5.5. So what I'm going to do is come down to the 2-inch mark. And half of 5.5 would be 2 3/4. So I'm going to take my scratch awl and mark it there. So I don't know if it's picking it up there or not, but I've got a little mark here. So this isn't a perfect science. I'm going to get my diamond on here. I'm going to punch a hole right in the dead center. This has been folded twice. So what I'm going to do is just actually poke that through there. Find my hole. Well, here, find my hole. I'm going to use that to line it up. All right. Then all I'm really going to do is eyeball this as far as being level. It's handmade. It's not going to be perfect by any means. But this type of leather, if you've watched my other video about veg tan versus chrome tan, this is veg tan leather. It's going to last a very long time. Handmade means it's unique. Even if I was to repeat this design over and over and over again, each piece is going to have a variation to it. And it makes it unique. And, you know, I could do a lot of things with this outside of just the basket weave. So now, if you can see, we've got that diamond shape in there, and I'm just going to cut it out. Now, a trick to doing this, no, I'm not going to use that. Now, a trick to using this, actually I am. This, to me, is more of like a rough cut, those types of blades. This one may take a couple swipes, but I'd rather not miss and move and screw up this piece of leather. So there is a trick to cutting inside leather like this. You start at one point and you don't go all the way to the other one. Because if I slip, then I'm cutting through leather that I want to keep. So what I'm going to do, as you'll see, is I'm going to start at the point. I'm going to go about halfway, maybe a little more, and stop. I'm going to turn it around and go to the other point that I was heading towards and cut until I meet my other line. And then go a little bit further and stop. I didn't quite go through everything, so I'll just go through it again. This is a very old Al Stallman trick, I want to say. Al Stallman has written many books on leathercraft. And has a ton of knowledge when it comes to this stuff. Not that there isn't new ideas out there, but he has a lot of great books that a lot of people will tell you are Leathercraft 101. So I'm going to get a little bit in here and go against what I was kind of saying. There. I'm just going to be careful. Now this is, I'm okay with doing that, not because I'm an expert by any means, but because I've already cut it a little bit, so I'm not, so there's less drag. I can control that blade a little bit better. Oh, and it just fell out. Let's tighten this again. It's like perfect timing, as I say. I'm not an expert at this. I have a blade fall out, huh? So, anybody can do it. That's proof. If I can, you can. Next thing I want to do is mark a few lines. What I'm going to do is use wing dividers. this up a little bit better. I will sand this down and try and work these edges from the inside out, so those will look better. I'm going to get my wing dividers. I always double check, but they're pretty much set at 1/8 of an inch. Now, 1/8 of an inch in from the outside is just about a perfect area for a stitch line. Most people I know use 1/8 of an inch. So what I'm going to do is set the one side, as you can see, up against the edge, and the other side just going to be kind of a light scribe. Alright, so I need to make an apology. The video I found out cut off after I had done quite a bit more work. So, well, not quite a bit. Where I left off was I was scribing my 1/8 of an inch sewing line. So I did that, and I wanted to show you I did the same thing around this edge. Now, in order to connect the lines, I had to use a ruler, and if you see, there are actually 2 lines. So the second line is 3/8 of an inch in. The second line that's inside is my border for the tooling work that I'm going to be doing. And so what that does is it makes it to where I'm not going to get too close to my stitching line, and then I have, you know, an actual box, and then the diamond itself, a border, just a spot to, you know, color within the lines, so to speak, with the tool. So it is getting a little bit late. I'm mostly a late night leather worker once my toddler gets to sleep. So I think I'm just going to stop here and maybe upload this as part 1. I don't know, I've probably got around 15 minutes or so of material, and I don't want to get too lengthy 30-minute, half-hour videos or anything like that. So I'm going to chunk it up, and, you know, if you start watching this first video and you like it, you can go to the next one. If it's just not your thing, you don't really care about a how-to or following along, go to the next video. Obviously, go to a different video, you know, but keep watching, keep subscribing. But yeah, so one of the things I asked at the very end was, what color should I maybe do this in? I can leave it the natural color here. It's kind of a flesh or a tone type color, and over time it develops a natural patina. I've got black, although I don't like using black all the time with tooling. It doesn't always look that great. I have a light brown and a dark brown. I'm actually leaning towards light brown because I think the basket weave looks pretty good with like a light brown look to it. So, but if you want, go ahead and comment. I actually have a green and a red, but I think red on red with the suede is just going to be kind of silly. It's probably not going to match anyways too. So, and green would just be Christmas colors. You know, if you want to buy it, sure. But this one, I think I'm going to be a little bit selfish and keep it for myself. I don't make a ton of things for myself. I've got a belt, I've got a wallet, and that's pretty much it. So far, I actually need to make myself another belt. Not that the one I have is bad, but I just, you know, something, a second belt, something more for, you know, nicer occasions, if you will. The one I made has that symbol on it. So, anyways, again, if you like the videos, please subscribe. Please share with friends, family. If you don't like them, share them with people you don't like. Whatever. So, everybody, have a good night. Thanks.